All right, so we are 5 minutes from our start. I want to let everyone know that we're just going to have our normal 5 minute leader, and we'll see you all on the other side of that.
1, 2, 3, 4.
Alive and well, I'm wide awake. Won't take your brand, I'm not your slave. You serve your God, Lord of the flies. I pity you when you meet mine. Lust of the flesh, lust of the eyes. Your bloody mouth unsatisfied. God sees the trap you set for me. He'll not be mocked, I will be free. We will not bend, we will not break. How dare you touch what God gave? We'll never give in, never give up, never back down, never surrender, never surrender. Make me behave. I won't march in your masked parade. Your hollow threats won't shut me up. I won't bow down, enough's enough. You say you'll give us what we need, as if you own the air we breathe. Stand up 100 million strong. Thought we'd lie down, well you thought wrong. We will not bend, we will not break. How dare you touch what God gave? We'll never give in, never give up, never back down, never surrender, never surrender. Though I walk through the valley of the shadow of death, just keep going, keep on going. Jesus with me every step. Just keep going, keep on going. Walk through the valley of the shadow of death. Just keep going, keep on going. Jesus closer than my breath. Just keep going, keep on going. Alive and well, I'm wide awake. Won't take your brand, I'm not your slave. You serve your God, Lord of the flies. I pity you and you mean mine. Lust of the flesh, lust of the eyes. Your bloody mouth unsatisfied. God sees the trap you set for me. He'll not be mocked, I will be free. We will not bend, we will not break. How dare you touch what God gave? We'll never give in, never give up, never back down, never surrender, never surrender. Your fear will not make me behave. I won't march in your masked parade. Your hollow threats won't shut me up. I won't bow down, enough's enough. You say you'll give us what we need, as if you own the air we breathe. Stand up 100 million strong. Thought we'd lie down, well you thought wrong. We will not bend, we will not break. How dare you touch what God gave? We'll never give in, never give up, never back down, never surrender, never surrender. Oh, I walk through the valley of the shadow of death. Just keep going, keep on going. Jesus with me every step. Just keep going, keep on going. Walk through the valley of the shadow of death. Just keep going, keep on going. Jesus closer than my breath. Just keep going, keep on going. We will not bend, we will not break. How dare you touch what God gave? We'll never give in, never give up, never back down. We'll never give in, never give up, never back down. We'll never give in, never give up, never back down, never surrender. Oh, I walk through the valley of the shadow of
Hey everyone, it's Rebuild Illinois number 36, I believe, Town Hall number 36. And it is September 25th. I believe summer is officially over, and that's due to all of you that were drinking pumpkin spice flavored lattes. I'm blaming you. But welcome back to the show. Glad to have you all with us. Today, I am joined by the indisputable constitutional expert, Ben Beerley. He is hanging out with us backstage. He's here with us now. How things going with you, Ben? Yeah, we've been. Yeah, we've been. I heard you had some new additions, some small furry kinds. Are you selling these? You're not allowed to sell them, are you? Oof. Are you rehoming? Hmm. Border collies are great dogs, man. Um, well, that's pretty cool. Well, congrats on the new additions. I know that you were pacing outside and handing out cigars, I'm sure, to all the other farm animals that you have. um, so I know that we have. Yeah, I know that we have been teasing that we have a guest coming in, but we know that there's been some technical difficulty. So as he gets in, we're going to let him take the time that he needs. As soon as he's available, we will throw him in the mix. But in the meantime, I think it's just going to be Ben and I trying to fill you in and keep you up to speed. And by the way, welcome back to all the YouTube viewers. Glad to have you. Um, I actually have a little view, a scene here that I had set up to actually make sure that I could see what they were watching. We don't have anyone watching on YouTube, but that's kind of the plan, right? They 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 take your site down so that you lose all your momentum and your viewership there. And they did that immediately after the election, and they've let us, and it was all election talk. So I know I'm going to be a little more cautious, but I think it's ridiculous that we have to do self censorship about talking about real issues that shouldn't be censored. Um, I don't. They don't even let you know what it is that you said that was wrong. I mean, they could have already flagged something we just said about puppies for all we know, and they'll never tell us. So thank you, YouTube. Appreciate it.
Guess at it. I had that problem with Facebook. Is they did that to one of my videos, and I had to go back and argue that they were full of it, which
Right.
they were, and so they put the video back in, and
By the way, I
and
apologize. I didn't transition. Like the whole conversation I just had with you,
yeah.
this is a big thing. I have to talk with the guys that do this software. It doesn't appear. It shows on the right that there's the two of us talking, but I noticed that it wasn't transitioned. So we were just talking about dogs. It was just me listening to you and nodding, I'm sure, in silence for the first couple of minutes. It's a rough start, man. It's a rough start. You were the funniest you've ever been in those 2 minutes that nobody heard anything you said. I want everyone to know that. That that was the
There
best
you go.
banter you've ever had. But it is
Well,
recorded, thankfully.
we'll have to move on from there. Yeah, we are trying to get Jerry in. If we can't get him this week, we'll get him in next week with
Okay.
a few other folks
Sure.
to talk about, you know, what's the big deal about a county board? What does the county board do?
What?
Um,
Yeah, and you went over that a month or so ago when we were
I
going
did,
through
but it's
over all
good
the
to hear
elected officials.
from somebody
Yeah,
else. Really, if you can give you a different perspective on it,
I could
whereas
use a
we give you
refresher.
kind of the educational perspective, they can give you more of a practical perspective.
Right.
So I'm gonna. If Jerry can't get in, I think he can hear us. Jerry, if you can't get in, many apologies, brother. We'll get you in next week.
Do me a
Uh,
favor. In the chat, Ben, Shoot
Yeah.
me Jerry's email, and I will try and do an invite and see if there's a difference between my invite and his, or my
Okay.
invite and yours, because I know that the invitation came from you. Um, Checking over, we do have the ability, by the way, guys, to kind of see what's going on with
All
Rumble
right.
here. I
It's
want to
in
make
the
sure.
chat.
All right, cool. Let's see. Looking. I don't see it. See, that's one of those things. You sent it in the chat, and I don't see it. Isn't that
Look
terrible?
look under Jerry's thing, and you'll see it there. Click on Jerry's name.
Don't have it in here.
You don't.
Nope.
I
Not
can,
everything is working correctly with our current CDN third tier streaming provider. So I think we're just going to just roll with this. Topics that I did want to bring up. I wanted to talk about the Safety Act a little bit. I noticed that Joe Rogan picked it up, and did you see that was a topic of conversation? I guess he had someone who started their career or was raised in Illinois and was like, I can't believe the law that they're passing, and I wanted to kind of give some fair. Oh, I see the email now. Finally, I want to give some fair two-sided views to this because I've heard some interesting arguments, and I'm wondering if there is some ways that you may be able to poke holes in those arguments or not. A lot of people saying that if you don't know what the Safety Act is, actually the acronym in itself should tell you all the agenda you need to know. I think the E on the
equitable.
SAFE is equitable.
Yeah, or equity.
Equity, yeah. I mean, if that isn't a dog whistle, I don't know what is. But at the same time, I've heard some very passionate and well stated, I guess you would say, arguments, because they're really not arguments when they're one-sided. You know what I mean? It's always easy to get up on the bully pulpit of the internet and say whatever the hell you want when nobody actually can say anything in return to you. But basically, that no bail doesn't mean that they wouldn't go to jail. It just changes the bail system. Have you heard that argument, Ben?
Right. So essentially, instead of making people pay bail to stay out of jail while they await trial, it will essentially eliminate the bail system entirely, and judges will make the decision whether or not somebody is going to stay in prison
Yeah, it
or in
doesn't
jail.
prevent them from keeping someone.
But the level of crime necessary for that hurdle for someone to stay in is only the most egregious crimes. I've heard like second degree murder is not one that someone would be retained
Right.
or they would be released. I mean, there's not much above second degree murder, if you can think of it. I mean, there are lots of things like sexual assault, etc. That
I think everything above that deserves like a Netflix special about your life. Other than that, you're off. Is that kind of like the draw point? If it's not interesting enough for them to make a mini series about what you did wrong.
And you got to wonder why they are doing this, because we're not talking about raising costs or the rising cost of incarceration for jails in this case. It's all about that buzzword equity that comes into it, and it's really tough to look at and say, really, is that really equitable?
Right. Is that the point? Is that what we're gunning for here? I'm half tempted right now, actually, to I don't know if that link changes per session, but I was going to make it available to people in our Rebuild Illinois chat just to see if anyone else could be able to connect. Since everything's kind of like fluid right now, you never know. We might get Clover in. We might get I don't know. We could get a lot of interesting people. Maybe Victoria would jump in on the show with us. But I'm gonna go ahead and post that
Right.
link and see how that
Did
goes.
you resend the email?
I did send the
Very-
email. If there's someone that's watching us on one of the platforms and knows about our Telegram channel, I just put the guest link on our Telegram channel, and you're welcome to try and join us. A lot of this is a big technology beta test anyway. We've been on this platform, I think, for almost a month now. Has it been a month? I think it's been close to a month.
It's been over a month.
Has it? Yeah.
Yeah.
And it's not perfect.
I don't love it.
What's that?
I said
I know
I
that-
don't love it.
I know Jen definitely on her show. I help her with hers. She's like, yeah, no, this is great, but she jumped back using the old platform. I'm considering that as well. I may have to have a talk with these guys, but I really,
if they can't come through with something that is,
there's
guaranteed to
basics.
work.
There's basic,
Yeah.
like you can add all the bells and whistles, but until you have a chassis, you gotta have the chassis operational. But all the special effects, man, what are you going to do? So do you think that the arguments for this whole Safety Act thing, by the way, have any merit, or do you think that, what's your opinion on that, Ben? That are in support of it.
I would have to read the whole thing, but I'm looking at one tweet right now. It says it abolishes cash bail for almost every offense, which I talked about. Individuals on electronic monitoring must be in violation for 48 hours before law enforcement can act.
Wow.
I've heard that about it being in there too, and it prohibits officers from removing trespassers from your residence or business.
Yeah, I think who was who's the sheriff that brought that up? I think from which township? It's not the first time he's kind of hit our news. Gosh, what's his name?
Peckow?
Yes. He
Peckow.
he really pointed out like you may have to use your own force. Like what are you going to do to get somebody off of your private property? And I'm like, well, I got ideas. I'm not short on ideas.
I can tell you one thing that works for sure is some good old violence.
Good old saber rattling of the 20th century
especially
style.
if the police aren't going to act, then it leaves it in my court to where I have to be the one acting. Yeah. So I see a picture of Jerry down below.
Oh, you do? Well, let's go ahead and I do too. Awesome, Jerry. I'm going to throw you into mix with us. Let's see if it works. I see that there's a window.
Hey, can you hear us?
There he is.
Got the sound working.
Welcome, Jerry.
All right.
Yeah, well, I had another invite for the heck of it.
Yeah.
It wasn't working on your phone. Is that the deal?
Yeah. This is my laptop.
Okay. Well, good. Welcome, man. I know that really only works on the platforms that they say it should work on. Like, I think it's Chrome only. Most of the time, there's a lot of people that are like, "Oh, we tried using Firefox, or we tried using an Internet Explorer on my Windows NT machine."
We have to make sure people know that then.
Yeah.
Well, I was using Chrome on my Android phone, and my phone is set to lock out cameras, and I couldn't get it. I couldn't find a setting to unlock cameras.
It's really a computer-only thing, bro. Good to meet you. I hear you're running for office.
I am running for County Board District 1. Yes.
Awesome. Well, it's easy to remember. He's running for number 1, Ben.
Number one slot. It used to be County Board. Before they reorganized, it was County Board District 6, and it was previously held by Don Gold. It's been a conservative double R district for this last time when Dine won against Debbie Militello. But prior to that, for as far back as I could look, a good 20 plus years, it was the double R district.
Interesting.
We're trying to return it to that. And Ben got cut out of our district because Mr. Van Dyne had done some things in Elwood that was not liked, and the rumor is, and I prescribe to this rumor, is probably a true statement, is that he wanted Elwood taken out because he knew he would lose it big.
Interesting.
I don't know that factually, but that's the rumor that's running around, is he knew because of his changes that he decided on North Point that they were not going to vote for him out of Elwood. And so they took Elwood out of his district.
Right. That doesn't surprise me. Honestly, with Elwood and Channahon combined, he would almost most certainly lose. Because you know what Judy has done in Channahon to really drum up support there, and what I and a couple of other people have done here in Elwood to, really get people interested again and turn it from blue to red, he would have a very hard time. So to hear that he had a hand in that, though, it doesn't surprise me.
It's rumor, Ben.
Yeah, but that's
rumor,
for what we know about Democrats, especially with what they did to.
It kind of is. I mean, that's what the talk is, and again, I will not say I have an inside source like you said that said, "Oh yeah, that's what happened," but it is a fact that it did happen, and it was strangely cut out of District 1, and it had been in that district forever, as you know, because you were going to run for it at one point when it was District 6. Elwood was been part of that district forever, and so now it's not. If the circumstantial evidence is high. I don't have factual evidence to back that up, so I don't want somebody accusing me saying, "Hey, he doctored it for himself." It's just curious, shall we say?
Yeah.
So
quick question, Jerry. I have some questions about your current status. I hear you're already serving on an educational board. Is that correct? Can you tell us a little bit about that?
Yeah, I serve on a Troy 30C school board. I have since 2018.
Wow.
I got reelected. Well, I guess officially it was 2017. April 2017, 4 year 2021, and got reelected in 2021. So it's like
so you got reelected post-COVID. So they liked you after all.
Well, after all of that, and after what we did, we are a very conservative board at Troy, and when we started, we had the idea that we were going to let the parents decide. We were literally within 4 days of opening when Pritzker came out in August of that year and said, "Yeah, I told you you could do that, but I changed my mind and going with the full mask." And about 3 weeks later, he went the full lockdown, and we had said we're going to live it up to the parents. We're going to encourage, and we did some mitigating things that should have helped. We put temperature scanners at every transfer to kids when it came in.
Okay.
We added a HEPA filtration system that was to the fine particulate
which has got to do better than the masks.
Yeah, it does. I mean, it's tremendously better, and it was rated for that environmental purposes. It was rated to do exactly that, to take any contaminant out of the air, including the microscopic virus. So we had done the mitigating factors, and it was kind of like, okay, we're doing more than what you require. And we did it out of our own reserve funds, which we ended up getting some of that back when they, released some COVID funds, way down the road. But
I don't even change the air filter on my air conditioner as often as I should. So kudos, man.
Well, there you go.
I get that notice all the time from my smart thermostat. Hey, you want to do that? And I'm like, maybe I already did.
I'll consider it. Where's the reset button? Let me just reset.
Right,
that
right.
for the next
I think I've hit just bug me. I've hit the snooze alarm on my personal filter on our AC at least 4 times. So kudos to you,
Yeah.
man. It sounds like your school is probably better than my home.
Well, and so we did, like I said, we did the mitigating factors that were necessary to keep the kids safe.
Right.
And they still said, no, you got to shut down. So then we went to the next level. We had already had a plan in place to put a computer in every 5th grader hand. So they had a computer that went from 5th grade to 8th grade, and then they took it with them.
Wow.
We added to that and put a computer in every kid from K through 8. And every kid that did not have home internet, we went out and got a hotspot for them to have in their home. So
Wow.
we guaranteed every kid had a computer and internet access because we were forced into remote by the governor. And we did everything we could to mitigate as much as we could. We got the teachers special. Everybody's seen those rollaway IV things that you walk with in a hospital.
Yep.
We did something very similar to that allowed the teacher to have a remote broadcast with half the class that was live, so that any kid that did not want to come to school or had issues was getting the exact same instruction at exactly the same moment as the kids that were in class.
Very good.
So we used a lot of our reserve money that we had built up over the years, and we used it directly to help the kids in need, the kids in trouble, and on trying to help also when they were forced out. And then on the return trip, we hired some specialists in the K through 4 area, an extra ESL, English as second language, English, EL, and math tutors, so that we could highlight whoever was struggling with coming back and get them immediate help. So we put extra people in every school with the ESSER funds.
See, this is all the stuff
that
the school board should do versus.
Well, thank you, but I mean
all the junk we're hearing.
Well, and like Ben said, I mean, it's about trying to make the best environment for the kids. And sometimes that's okay, ultra conservative, and sometimes it's not so, what considered
You make
a regular
concessions.
conservative position.
Right.
You do. And these were things that we felt this is what the kids were going to need to be successful during that troubling time. And then, of course, when they went the no mask rule, when Pritzker lost in court on Friday, on Monday, we had a special board meeting, and we said, okay, parents, you get to decide right away.
As it should be.
So,
nice.
And we've done lots of other things on the board, too, that I'm very proud of. If I could go on for, in 6 years, I could go on for hours.
No, but that's great. It's kind of like, I want people to have a sense of who you are. And especially, I'm curious, like, if this is where you've had such success, what would you say is the reason for you wanting to move into being a Will County board member? What spurred that decision?
Well, it was always in the back of my mind kind of thing that I wanted to, the state's got a stupid rule, says if you are a state representative or a state senator.
Just one, right, Ben?
Yeah, no. You can be on a school board. You can be a trustee at the junior college. If you are on a local school board, some reason or the other, you can't be on a county board. One of the obscure rules that they used for that purpose was, on rare occasion, the state gives money directly to a county. On rare occasions, that county can devote that money to a school. If you're on a school board, you may decide to influence them to give you that money, and therefore that would be a conflict at that point. And that's the extremity of how far down the road they went to say you can't do both.
Yeah, obviously, that seems like it's written for a specific cause, or a specific person, doesn't it? To try to keep somebody from being able to serve in a greater capacity.
Well, and I mean, the school board is a volunteer position. The county board, I mean, it gets a minor stipend. It's I think $24,000 a year, maybe something in that range. So it's not like it's a huge amount of money or anything like that. It was just, looking to help a larger population and using what I learned about how to work within the school board. I'm also the school board treasurer. I got elected to that 4 years ago. So just to kind of use that experience and help in a larger environment. That was kind of my goal.
Well,
and hopefully convince the state to let me do both.
I think you've seen with the county board that definitely need correction.
Well, there are, and then that could be a whole nother discussion. But you're right, Christian. I mean, I have thoroughly enjoyed my time on the school board. And
you got to wonder, like, what causes someone to go, we're having so many successes. What's that transitionary period that happens in someone's mind that says, let's take this to the next level? Do you feel that you can get more done there? What is it that you hope to get done? What are the motives?
Well, one of the motives was, as I spoke of, the conservative background of what I bring, how I think, and fiscally conservative. We've done, every year that I've been on the board, we've done a tax abatement of a minimum $600,000 back to the taxpayers to reduce the tax rate directly. Wow. And I watched the county spend ridiculously and put proposal after that's contra to my way of thinking. And I said, well, I've got a conservative ideals. I believe in family values. And I think that's what the county needs as a whole, more than where we're at and the direction they're heading. And so that was more of a personal, I don't like where we're going. I think the school board right now, the 7 members that we have, is a very balanced group, and that we have a very, we're not going to lose the initiative of how we've been working the last 6 years I've been on the board, in other words.
Right.
We're not going to be overwhelmed by what happened to the county board 4 years ago. It's not going to happen in our school board. There are 7 members, and we're all in the same mindset of what I just said. And we're not going to dramatically change our course of action. We had an incident some people are aware of, where we had a teacher who put a TikTok video out, and she was speaking to the idea that she had a student that felt he was transgender, and she was not going to tell the parent, which violated several policies that we have in place. Our policy that's in place is, if anybody, teacher, janitor, gets a kid talking about it, then they go to the social worker and the principal immediately, and it's coordinated with the parent. It's never done in isolation. And she violated that, and now she's no longer employed.
Wow.
Yeah. And that's because there are ways to handle that if the parents object. There are proper ways to deal with that, but keeping the parent in the dark is never a good option.
Right.
Well, exactly, and that's why we have the policy that we have, is that we recognize some parents and some children may have issues in dealing with this kind of thing. It's not the teacher's responsibility to isolate that child from his own parent or her parent. And that's why we have a program that says, hey, we'll work with the parent. If the parent comes to us and says, this is what I want for my child, then we deal with it. But we don't cut the parent out of the picture. And that's what this teacher was on TikTok and actually said, I'm not going to tell her mom and dad. When they come in, I'm going to just call her by her regular name.
Wow.
And we're like, no, that's not what we do here.
Right.
So
right. That's good.
So when I say that we have a very conservative board,
you got a board that is fairly stable, right? So if I read into this a little bit, you feel good about where that board is at, but the county board is a whole other animal.
That's exactly it.
It needs refreshing, and there gets a time where you're like, okay, I feel good leaving this because that's going good, but this needs attention. So I'm going to see where I can focus on this to help this.
Well, yeah, I guess that's kind of what I was trying to say, is that, I have a very different conservative viewpoint, and I have a fiscally responsible viewpoint, and I don't like spending. I don't like my taxes going up any more than you. I fought with the school board every year whenever we get to the levy, and I'm already on record for this year's levy fighting about not going to the max levy. So we've already had a couple meetings concerning that, and somewhere in the minutes it'll say something to the effect. I don't know where we're going to end up yet because that's several months from now still.
So where are you at with
but
your campaign right now?
I have a major struggle in that I need people to help walk doors for me because I have a bad leg, kind of like Ben.
Okay.
And so I can't physically go out and knock. I've been going to events, county sponsored events and things of that nature. And, getting my face out there. Yesterday, I was out at Custer Park all afternoon because the Custer Park Fire Department had a special, what do I want to say? Not neighborhood, village show and tell day. They got a brand new ambulance with some of the ARP funds. And it was also sponsored by one of the solar installation groups that are coming to the area. And they were showing off their new ambulance. And they had a life flight in there, but he had to actually leave to take a call for a life flight. So
quick question. I have your Yahoo email address. Is that something I can give out to everybody who's watching our stuff if they want to get a hold of you?
I have a campaign address.
Yeah, what would that be?
That's Jerry for County Board 1 at Gmail.
Is it the number 4 or FOR?
FOR.
For County Board 1 at Gmail.
Yes.
By the way, we forgot to say something very important about Jerry.
What's that?
Jerry he's one of those special kids. He was in the Marine Corps, so we gotta talk simply to him.
Yeah.
I got you. Yeah. Kid gloves.
Just remember, Ben outraged me. He still can't make a complete sentence. So there you go.
Totally understand.
I was a captain in the Marine Corps way back when, 82 to 88, long before Ben even thought about it.
This is true. This is true.
So I got Jerry for County Board 1. Anybody who's watching, I'm going to also put that on our Telegram group. Anybody who's interested in helping walk and do is it signatures we need for starters?
No. It just contact. Just canvassing is what it's general to it. It's
that's your contact the name out in front everybody.
Right. Taking push cards around and putting them indoors, stuff like that. Talking to people.
Let me know if there's an event. Well, one of the things always is if you have an event in your area, let me know. I try to catch up with them as much as I can. It was a incidental contact. I was at St. Joe's Park. They had their last show of the season, and it was the Lions Club. And I ran into one of the trustees from Custer Park, and that's how I found out Custer Park was having an event yesterday. So, that's the kind of thing, when something's happening in your area that I can come meet and talk to people, that I can do. But extensive walking, that I can't do anymore. And
gotcha.
I'm a step away from Ben. Ben has started to have to use his cane more often, and I'm at like, oh my God.
If he doesn't leave it at my house. Then he's screwed.
Yeah.
Until I retire.
I got 2 now.
I had his cane for a while. when he was running the last time, I had Ben's cane a couple of different times.
Yeah. So this is not a new thing, Ben.
Yeah. I'm working on it. I'm getting better at keeping it with me. I tell you what, when I hurt, I definitely don't forget it. I'll tell you that right now.
So what's the next big date for your campaign then? Like, when do you actually collecting?
I'm trying. Right now, I don't have anything on the schedule. I'm trying to have another fundraiser toward the middle of October as a last dish because we're going to try to get a last mayor out, and they're expensive.
Yep.
There's approximately 20,000 voters in the district, and at the best rate I can get, that's $4,000 to put one piece of paper in front of somebody. So we're trying to figure out some digital marketing ideas, and
having you on things like this is a good
having
thing.
me on
Mr.
things
Carter.
like this. Well, it is, and again, and I heard you guys talking about Katie, my running mate, and we just didn't have enough time. She'd already had tickets to go to some new comedian that was at Rialto tonight, and so that's where she's at right now. Otherwise, she'd have been on here with us. And then,
well, we can do that again next week or whenever you want to jump back in. We'll figure it out.
Well, we can do that. And she said she'd be, willing. It's just a matter of making sure we have notification and she can put it on her schedule and things like that. We were in Braidwood yesterday, doing some door knocking. I had several friends help me. Debbie Rozak, who is a former county board member in this district, was out with Tim Beers, who's former mayor of Braidwood, and they were knocking on doors for all of the candidates, myself included, and I stopped and talked to them. And Al Kuipers was out in Braidwood knocking doors and passing out literature for people. And so, that's the kind of, I know the coordinator for the Bailey campaign, and he's trying to coordinate walkers for various areas. And so I try to, when they're in my area, I try to piggyback on them as much as I can.
Sure.
But I don't have a specific schedule of areas.
Right. What was the thing that you were saying, Ben? You were doing a little research on Will County as well, as far as the past election. Didn't you have some statistics there that you were sharing with me before show?
So primary election. Okay. There were a total of 87,000 voters in the primaries. 40,000 were Democrat. 47 were Republican. Those are good numbers. We need to make sure we hopefully get more coming into, because there's over 100,000 easy. Actually, Jerry, correct me if I'm wrong. I think it's actually over 400,000. I don't know the whole scope. Yeah, I don't know the whole scope of the county. Once in a while, I see the number, and I can't always keep it straight.
I think it's just over 300, but I don't have it at the tip of my fingers without looking it up again. So yes,
I tell you,
a huge amount. These elections, surprisingly, here in Will County, do bring out more people than an average off-year election. Will County does get a larger turnout. Now, in the April elections, they get nothing, like 15-20%, and that's it. But in the fall elections, their turnout's still up in the 60s, surprisingly, across the entire county.
Registered voters, that's where there are 455,000 registered voters.
There you go.
Not all those people vote, so.
Right.
Yeah.
If you go back to
so Will County's not a small county.
No, it is not.
No.
I think when we were looking at it, it's like one of the top 5 or top 10 counties population-wise in the state. Easily top 5.
It's actually, I want to say, the top 3.
Right.
Well, we have the third largest city in Joliet.
Right.
And it's not, while we have areas that are rural, we have population, like pockets of population throughout that. It's almost surprising how many people live here, because it's not like we have a lot of large cities. Even Joliet is a lot of sprawling, really, to it. But it is the third largest city in Illinois, population-wise.
That's a fact. Yeah, third or fourth, depending on whose chart you read. But yes, definitely right at the edge of. One guy's chart says, "Oh, we're fourth." One guy's chart says, "No, we're third," and it's, fractionally different. 10,000 votes one way or the other. So yes, 400,000. I could buy that, especially since you
at that point, right?
Right.
Yeah. We'd love to.
I would say, one of the reasons why we need people to run for It's good to have school boards. We absolutely need people running for school boards, or else our school boards do the crazy things that we've been seeing across the country, allowing the sexualization of our children. But
go ahead.
On top of that, though, is you look at the stuff that the county boards are doing, and it can be almost worse at times than what's currently happening. Look, remember what happened with the gas tax, Jerry?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes,
So
that's one of the things I've come out against it. When the gas tax passed, Mike Frizzlone, who was then the leader, the minority leader then, had come out and said, we just got the state tax. It's going to give us $22 million extra dollars that we've never had before. And we don't even know what we're planning for that. And you want to increase and get another 8 or 9 million out of the people. And we don't even know what we're going to do with the 22 million. And yet the Democrats passed it anyway. So they just kind of piggybacked and got this extra pile of money, and they haven't used it effectively. There's a lot of places, as I've been going around the county areas, one of the big ones they talk about is Coal City Road has been overused by trucks trying to cut through and get to 129, come through the bottom of North Point instead of trying to go through the front side of it. And that's all tore up. Everybody knows Illinois 53 is destroyed, but that's a state highway, so we have limited ability to fix it. But, that's the kind of things that the people are looking at going, well, why aren't we fixing this? We had this gas tax where we have this to help pay for these kind of things, and we're not doing it. What's the problem here?
Right.
Well, if you look at where the money goes, I would guess what I've seen in Illinois is there's a very large overhead cost in any government project. When you look around at, are you construction? Everything has this very high price tag.
I think you're underselling that one, Ben.
Non-productive work.
You think he's talking from his experience of 20 years? I'm not sure.
Maybe.
I could talk about ABC funding and everything else, but overhead is something that doesn't directly apply. It could support the end product, but usually you want to keep your overhead costs down as low as possible. Whereas in Illinois, it seems to be the reverse. Hey, how can we line administrators' pockets here in Illinois? Let's raise taxes and pay administrators more. Right, Jerry? Am I wrong?
I won't go so far as to say the administrators particularly are making out. There might be an additional, how should I say, contribution to a campaign. Most of the direct payment kind of stuff has been cleaned up pretty well. So I don't think there's as much of that, although again, people get accused every day, and Chicago politicians are famous for doing exactly that and getting kickbacks. But I think in the general sense, our government has gotten better in that we are, trying better, but there may be additional campaign contributions and things of that nature that since I want to say the 2000-ish, when they changed the law and they said originally anything left over in your campaign fund at the end when you quit working was yours, and now you can't do that anymore.
Right.
And so that changed some of that perspective. So now you have to use it or donate it to some other charity or
some creative. Yeah, there's definitely been some creative solutions coming up around that, but they're.
I'm speaking a lot. If you look at our pension problems, though, a lot of that is that kind of overhead that I'm referring to. But also, gosh, if you just look at superintendent pay for schools, it is insane how much superintendents make, and we have over twice as many school districts as the next state, Texas.
Wow.
That's
and Texas has double our population.
Yeah.
So
We have like
How do you do
892
that?
school districts, and
What's
there's a
that?
huge amount of those districts. I said we have something like 891, 92, something like that, school districts in this state, and a lot of them are single building schools. There's several districts that are just in our immediate area. There's Union School, there's Richland School, there's Cheney Manji, there's the one South Wilmington. I'm pretty sure South Wilmington is a single building. I could be wrong though, but Rockdale, they're all independent districts, one building, one school, and the district superintendent sits around the corner from the principal in the same building, but they're still required to have a district superintendent. And there is a lot of that in Illinois because when it was built up over time, it was, hey, this is our private school. This is what we do here, and this is our town, our people, our school. And there's the remnants of that are these little one building schools that are
Mhm.
literally everywhere. So, Ben, I wanted to pick up on one comment you made about the strangeness of the sex ed rule that Governor Pritzker tried to put through. And
I'm
part
ready
of
for
that
this one.
rule, well, no, part of that rule was if you have your local school board decide to opt out of this training and you decide you're not going to teach this subject, then you can opt out. And we were, if not the first, and I'm pretty sure we were the first, but district in Will County to opt out, and it was in like July of last year. We said no, we're not going to do that, and uh, every other school district in Will County followed that, except for Beecher. Beecher is the only one that opted in,
Hmm.
and everybody
Really?
else opted out of it. Valley View, north of us, opted in, but everybody else. So we said no, that's not a place. It's not teacher's place to be teaching these kind of strange concepts. This is when my business card that I pass out to everybody says family values and fiscal conservative. These are the type of family values I'm speaking to. Is that this is a family issue. This is a mom and dad issue, and if you need help, we have social workers to help you teach your children how to do this. But we're not going to
But
teach
they're
it.
helping the
Sure.
parents, not the kid.
Correct. Correct.
Right.
Sure.
So
And that's really, I mean, you get down to it, that's got to be how it is,
Yeah. I mean,
but
nobody's
I
graduating high
don't
school at
get me
18 unless
wrong.
they're held back. So
yeah,
Don't
we're
get
all
me wrong.
children.
I will very quickly say that schools, a lot of the stuff that we don't like in schools isn't really the school's fault necessarily. It's like what is dumped on their door. Okay, here, you deal with this. And the school is just like, okay, we'll figure it out.
well,
I'm
yeah,
not joking. I'm
no,
not
no.
joking. That happens far too often. But yeah, this
There
is
are
not one
there
of
are
those
strange
cases.
state mandates that come up constantly for, like the sex ed bill. They tried to pass a more extensive bill dealing with other hot button issues that did not pass the state.
Mhm.
And we have come out with a policy saying those issues don't belong in grade schools. Uh,
Cool.
and that's like I said, when I speak to family values and what I believe in, that's where I'm coming from. Is that voice of conservatism? The family is responsible for the children, and we'll help the family as much as we can. One of the
Yeah.
programs that I started because I sat with my superintendent actually before he was a real gentleman. I went into the office just to get some stats and stuff, and he set aside 2 hours to sit down and talk to me on the spur of the moment when I walked in the very first time. And one of the things he said to me is, we need to improve the at risk kids. And there's a category, and I always get it wrong. There's a
Sure.
state category of at risk kids that are high risk of failure because they don't have exposure to certain things. And we had
Yeah.
just expanded our preschool program. And so, between my work with the preschool coordinator we had just hired, we created a program every October that every kid that's a 4-year-old that needs at high risk and has not been placed in our preschool gets a slot in our preschool free of charge. And you come and you learn so that when you get to kindergarten the next year, you have that exposure that you need to keep up with everybody, because it's been shown kids from that high risk environment have a vocabulary of 700 to 800 words, and in a normal
Wow.
family, maybe as much as 2,500 words. So it's a
Yeah,
dramatic difference, And so
yeah,
I felt
it
that
is.
was important enough to bring to the table, and we did it, and then we got it approved by the board. And so every year we try to get kids off of the at-risk list and into preschool so they're ready to advance and be successful. So
See, and that's the kind of thing is, stuff like that normally gets branded, oh, that's liberal, that's conservative. I think if we look at it from that perspective, that issue is one of those that's just common sense. That, we believe in equality of opportunity. We want to make sure these kids have the opportunity to succeed. That's more of a common sense thing than it is left or right.
well, and I agree with that, and I never approached it as left or right. I said to the superintendent, "What's the best thing we can do?" Because one of the reasons I ran for the school board was I was very disappointed that Troy had dropped in the state standards test to a level that I never expected based on historically. I've been in Joliet area since 65. I was born in Peoria. We moved up here in 65. And outside of my Marine Corps years, I have been in the immediate area. Troy was always the
You
smart
say
kids.
Peoria, and I can smell it. I used to live there as a kid, so I think it's the brewery. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, and it's just, it was just, I was disappointed to see that that's where things had stood. And so I was interested, and my daughter got tired of listening to me complain, said, "Dad, do something about it." And I did. And I stepped up, and it was a weird year. They only had 3 people running for the 4 slots, so I ran as a write-in, and I won. There was actually 2
Wow.
write-in candidates. So I was actually running against another write-in candidate, and I outpointed him like 10-1. So because I was actually, it wasn't, I'm just doing this. It was, I want to do this. And so I got out and I knocked on thousands of doors, and, just like we're doing now, I let my voice be heard. Back then, I could still walk. I have diabetes, and I have claudication in my legs, which causes severe cramping after I go about 100 yards. And that's why it's so difficult for me to.
Well, talk to
That's
us
rough.
afterwards, and we'll see if we got some stuff. I know Ben and I have been experimenting.
I saw that ahead of time there. I caught the edge of that. I was on. I couldn't get in, but I was on. I saw you were holding up a little jar of something.
Yeah. I'm telling you what, I learned about it from David Shostokis. It's a buddy of his, and
Marmalade.
we may even have some sponsorships coming up, so we might be able to get you some goodies.
Uh-oh.
But I'm going to tell you right now,
Marmalade, right?
yeah, it's been helpful. So it's amazing to look at this, but we are at I haven't updated my little ticker in a while. I think if I update it right now, I think this is accurate. We are 44 days for the general election.
That's pretty dang close, yes.
That's pretty amazing, isn't it, that we're there? I mean, you would think we need to start ramping up again, Ben. So,
well,
we kind of need to.
Yeah, that's where we are right now. Holy crap.
Hey, Jerry, you and I had a conversation about, so what does somebody on the county board do? Are they all powerful, or, what do they do? Because people have this kind of impression that, if you're on the county board, you can get me out of this ticket.
Well, it's obviously it's nothing like that.
Well, then I'm not voting for you.
Yeah, well, I know. I actually had somebody tell me that. They knocked on the door and they actually said that, and I was like, "Yeah, okay, you probably weren't going to for me anyway, so okay, fine." The county board controls all the county office budgets. It doesn't control the office holders because, like the sheriff, the state's attorney, they're elected. Jennifer Bertino is elected.
So it's the purse strings.
So we control the purse strings. We say the county right now, the county sheriff's in negotiations for their new contract. The county decided to hire a lawyer as a contract specialist to negotiate with them because the county pays the bill. The sheriff runs the office. And there are several offices that the sheriff is one, that, as I mentioned, the state's attorney's office, the county health department, Sunny Hill Nursing Home, and there's a few other countywide 911 center and things of that nature that are funded by the county board separately. And then the most critical thing directly affecting the other people is they're in charge of any county property not incorporated for zoning purposes. You know,
Okay.
you can put a business here or you can't put a business here, or we're zoning this residential or not residential. And for county roads that are not, like we talked about earlier, that are county roads, not state roads, or not city responsibility, although sometimes a city county joint function will happen to improve a road area. But that's the big picture items of what the county is responsible for.
Wow.
That's true, and oftentimes there can be tasks that come down from the state that it just falls on the county board to try to implement them in some way.
Well, and that's to a certain extent. I mean, the state passes idiot laws constantly and says, "Well, we don't care how you fund it. That's not my problem. We're telling you have to do it." And it's the same thing we were talking about. The schools is the same thing. So I've had a little experience dealing with those kind of weird things that come out of the state, and we're like, "No, this is not," and argued back and forth with Illinois State Board of Education. And how do we stand? And there's the same thing for the county board. There is a chain through to the state, and you mentioned taxes. Like right now, and I mentioned the Department of Health. The county has put on the ballot a new tax, and the new tax is a property tax increase to fund a new specialized mental health board separate from the mental health department within the Department of Health. And they have the idea is to create a separate board, and somehow the donations and money from outside will go to that board for dispensation instead of going to the county mental health department. So it's actually somewhat creating a duality of purpose. And the county board directors showed up at the county board meeting and in a general sense spoke against the idea, saying, "Hey, I have a mental health department, fund me and we'll make it work. I've got experience at this," and they still put it on the ballot. So obviously that's something I'm against it. When the director of the county mental health department says, "Give me more," I'm more apt to do that to help our mental health issues that are more prevalent in society today than I am to create a whole new entity for the purpose of creating and they're non-paid jobs, but there's 7 directors that are not elected. They're appointed. Okay, which kind of gives you an idea of thought processes, and at the same time, one of our brother counties, and I want to say Kendall, I'm not exactly certain, but they refused to collect it because it didn't have a PTEL rider. PTEL is a property tax equalization levy. I think that's the right letters. It's a property tax limitation law that came up many years ago when the 6 collar counties could only do an increase of 5% or CPI and no more than.
Mm-hmm.
And the county assessor said, "I'm not collecting this because you didn't get a PTEL rider approval to say this does or does not affect PTEL." And so then the state passed a new law and said, "Well, that one still counts and start collecting it, and we're going to change it for the next one that comes up." So it's kind of in flux. But so it's not truly directly mental health improvement. It's a new board to direct money and resources to different facilities that are what Ben, you probably heard this term, NGOs.
Yep.
Non-government organizations.
Yep.
I guessed it.
And that's the concept that they're going under, and they want to collect this extra money from taxpayers. And I just don't believe. I think we have the structure. We can work within the structure. And this is, and Ben will hear this one. When I was in the Marine Corps, I always said, let's make the system we have work and find out what's wrong instead of trying to shortchange it before we even understand it. And there was a lot of that where people were trying to backdoor things, and it's like, somebody spent a lot of time putting this together, and let's use what we have.
That's a junior Marine's favorite thing to do. See how they can get around.
Yeah. Well, and see, I was the opposite. I was like, let's use the system, figure out what's wrong with it, and then fix it instead of trying to abuse it and go around it. And this is one of those, in my opinion, let's abuse it and go around the corner because we want to have this new thing. And I think we should work within our existing structure to make it happen.
So it seems to me this tax thing that you brought up, it's not really arguing for new functionality. It's just another layer and another excuse to tax the citizens.
It pretty much is. Again, it's specifically to create this special board. It's called 708 board to dispense and collect particular funds separately from the county. And the county's record on boards has not been the greatest. If you've been paying attention to the news, everybody knows the Veterans Assistance Group is in big trouble right now because it's not been staffed correctly, and people that have been posted on that are not the appropriate representatives. And this was also a county function, and the county gave them $500 to advertise their services to the Will County area, and they put it out, and that board voted it on a no bid contract. And now not only is the director that was there at the time that happened, but the person that got the 500,000, technically 495, in case somebody wants to correct me, closed up her shop, closed her webpage down, closed up shop, went away. And so that's obviously being litigated right now. And this is a similar style. And VAC, when run correctly, is a very helpful veterans organization. There are literally every county has one, and I looked it up, and I can't remember exactly the year, but they've been around for a long time. And they are very helpful in what they can do and help veterans with problems. But the way Will County put the latest version of the council together, it was strange, to say the least.
Right.
So,
gonna have to go pay them a visit.
And I'll tell you, Christian, I can talk around a subject for 20 minutes and still not say anything.
Well, I don't know if that's. I don't know if you put that on the resume, man. That might be one of those things that might qualify you for general politicianing.
Well, I think this discussion has been a kind of good introduction for what we can do next week. Really,
it's great to hear about what your thoughts. I mean,
we're already we're at an hour 8 already, so we want to be careful of the time.
Well, I'm glad to have spent this time with you. I didn't know anything about you until today. I wish you were in my area. I'd be voting for you because I mean it. I'm not going to vote for you because I can't.
Wait, media can vote. You just can't do.
Yeah, but I live in Elgin. I don't live in Will County.
Yeah,
that doesn't stop the Democrats.
Hey, well,
how dare you call me that, Ben?
And it's now it's Frankie Pretzel and Judy Ogala. And Judy's been around forever in that area, but they added Elwood because they took a district. And she's been a stalwart on the county board for many years. And Frankie, I want to say this is his second term. It may be his third. I'm not absolutely certain. But that part of the redistricting is they took the two of them, put them in the same district, and the other two that had previously, because it's a 2-person district, they decided not to rerun. So Frankie, which is originally New Lenox district, and Judy, which was always South Will County, are in the same district together. Which is where you're at.
And if I had stayed in the race, then I would be up against those two. And I wouldn't feel right about that,
Well, and that's another reason I didn't do it for a long time, because we had Don Gould, and he was a stalwart of the party. He's well known. He has endorsed my campaign. He was a sponsor for my first fundraiser. And so, and I talk to him fairly regularly, get his advice and ideas on what we need to do. And so, you know, I'm not cutting him out because he is a voice of reason and history in the county. And I think I mentioned Debbie Rozak that I consult with all the time because she's also a prior county board member. So, you know, I'm talking to the people that know what we need, and I'm trying to talk to the various other areas and find out what people want. And that's why I enjoyed being in Custer Park yesterday. I talked to the fire chief for about 30 minutes, and it was interesting. The gentleman that invited me was Ben Hussey. He was the fire trustee. And he said he invited all the R's, all the D's, everybody, and there was four R's showed up. Me and Katie were down there. Bob Bodak was there, and Jackie Haas was there, and that was it. And he was, you know, he was obviously concerned. He wanted to know, as the county board, would we represent him and be aware of his needs down there in the middle of nowhere? And I said, you know, this is why I spent the day down here talking to you and talking to the people. Because it's not, oh, I'm in Sherwood and I only care about Sherwood. No, it's the entire county, and you have to try to balance everybody's needs together. So, looks like we lost the moderator.
Now he just dropped his picture out for a minute, I guess.
Okay.
Well, you know, I tell you what, good discussions all around, and it's sad to hear that. Unfortunately, you know, that's part of running, is you get people who essentially throw their name on the ballot and just assume, oh, you know, I'm going to win because, you know, my district has historically voted this way, or, you know, I could talk about the gerrymandering in the county board districts. Gerrymandering is not a new thing to history. Both R's and D's
and
do it.
That's no slight on you, Jerry. I want you to know that we use that.
Walking into that mess,
it's,
you know,
it's actually gerrymandering because the guy's name was John Gary.
It's gerrymandering.
Gerrymandering because the guy's name was John Gary, who was first accused, the Salamander County.
Awesome.
But Ben, being a politics professor, should have known that. But hey,
it was actually Elbridge Gerry from
Eldridge,
the late 1700s, and
look at the brain on Ben. He's going to pull out some stats on us.
Yeah, so it's gerrymandering after Eldridge Gerry. So
wow.
But
I tell you what,
he pronounced his name as Gary. But there
Gary?
You go.
Okay.
Gary.
Well, that is a good way to get out of under any liability on that. We don't want to have you associated.
It's a hard thing when, like Ben said, R's and D's both do it constantly, and one of the things that is very frustrating to me, as you know, just as a citizen living in the county. As Ben mentioned, we've grown. We're over 400,000, and somehow the Democrats decided we would reduce the number of representatives and reduce the number of districts.
Right.
From 13 to 11. If you'd told me going to 15 instead of 13, I'd be like, yeah, we got 400,000 people. Right. But now you've taken.
Well,
11.
no, it's.
Yeah.
Well, yeah, but you're also taking it, and so now. What the idea of a county board is to be responsive to the members in your area, and now you've increased the number of people that you're representing. It should be going the other direction. It should be saying, yeah, we need 15 two-person districts instead of 11. You know, the cost savings that they were quoting is minuscule, and the effect on the people and their ability to get through to their representative, you know, now instead of this many thousand, now you're that many thousand. And it's like,
I'm thinking we need to come up with a board game called gerrymandering where we just have a map, you know, and you get little dry erase markers. Yeah, and you roll the dice, and oh fuck, I can. Well, idea right here.
You're gonna get us banned again.
Gerrymandering.
All right. Well, I tell you what, Jerry, if you can come back next week, I'd like to have maybe do a panel on county board stuff. Just because I think it's interesting for people to hear what does the county board do. What are issues that we face, and why is this election so important? What do you think?
Well, I think that's a possibility. I don't have my schedule in front of me right now, so I have to double check, make sure that have it.
We'll look and
now that you're an old hat at running this on your laptop.
Yeah, but I've been holding my laptop.
I noticed that. I'm wondering when your arm's going to fall off at this point.
Yes,
we're actually going to just keep the show going until you collapse.
It keeps moving because I'm trying to hold the dang thing up. But you make do. I can't go into the kitchen right now because I got I got a project on the kitchen table. So it's like, oh, okay, that's why I was going to use my phone. It just didn't want to work for me. But it's a nice environment. If I could do one of these every other day for every other area, I gotta be on all the time.
Well, get back with me later. Maybe we'll see what we can do to help you out with your campaign. We are all about trying to enable people to get their voice magnified, especially if they are representing a conservative constitutional candidate. I mean, that's our big goal here, is not only to be kind of a clearinghouse, but to also kind of be the megaphone for them if we can possibly pull that off.
Well, I appreciate that. I had I was out at an event the other day, and I was talking to a lady, and she said, "Where do I stand on the Constitution?" And you see Ben's hat behind him. I had my red hat. I had my red Marine Corps hat on, and I just kind of leaned down, and she took 3 times to looking at my hat before she realized I stood up and I defended our Constitution. That's kind of where I stand on it.
Well, it's funny you say that. I have I'm not going to name any names. I have friends from high school that serve in the Marines that are about as blue as they come. So it's not an automatic thing. I think
no. But either way, it's defending the Constitution,
right?
Whether you're blue or red, you're defending. And it's funny because I was looking at the oath of office the other day, and support and defend the Constitution of the United States against all enemies, foreign and domestic.
Mm-hmm.
Not a red or blue thing. It's I believe in the Constitution. I believe in our country.
And
right now,
I've often said that I would much rather have my colleagues on the opposing side be all veterans, because I know that we have a common language we can speak.
Right.
We will get stuff done, and it will be the right stuff. Regardless.
Well, I guess that's what I'm trying to say, Christian. I'm not trying to say,
no, I hear you.
But the particular question was, where do I stand on the Constitution? Not where do I stand, red or blue? And I was like, if I was willing to stand up just like Ben and say, you know what, I'm willing to sacrifice everything I have to defend the Constitution, that's pretty much where I stand. And I haven't changed that I got out in 88. So 4 years ago.
Wow.
I haven't changed my perspective at all on that concept. That's where I stand. I believe in where, I don't believe in some of the abuses we've had to the Constitution, but I am a constitutionalist, if you want to, from that perspective.
Sure.
It's written down. One of the strangest things that it's a recent theory in psychology, is that the human brain doesn't finish developing until 25. And dang that them guys 200 plus years ago didn't come up with 25 as the age to be a congressman. It's like, wait, 200 years ago, they figured out 25 was the earliest we were going to let that happen.
Yeah.
And here we are today, just figuring out 25 is when the brain gets done.
Well, I never agreed with that so much until I started realizing that 16-year-olds look like 12-year-olds, and that didn't happen until after I turned 40, and it just looked really odd. Like, really?
Yeah.
Does your parents know that you stole the car? No. So I get it.
Yeah. No, exactly. But it's just strange that lines up that way, and it's one of them quirks of history that I kind of go, wow, that's just eerie that they came up with that number so many years ago. So.
Well, it's been a pleasure having you on.
Well, I appreciate it. I wish I could have got a few friends, but it was kind of
we got plenty of opportunity, and who knows? We'll talk with you again later. Please stick with us while we're wrapping the show out.
Sure, that's certainly our fault. You know,
we can talk after the broadcast ends. So, but there's going to be a little lead out. I'm going to go ahead and Ben, if you're good with that, I think we should probably sign off. We are an hour 20 in. I'm going to let the our closing.
Hey, folks, thanks for being with us and listening a little bit about Will County politics. And
I think if I would have had,
go ahead.
I was just going to say, I think if I would have had a few of my friends on, I'd have been talking over them just the same way. So maybe this is better to start with. I have that tendency.
That's normal. So
that's right.
That's Jerry. But thanks, folks, and we'll catch you next week.
All right. Playing us out.
Alive and well, I'm wide awake. Won't take your brand, I'm not your slave. You serve your God, Lord of the flies. I pity you and you me mine. Lust of the flesh, lust of the eyes. Your bloody mouth unsatisfied. God sees the trap you set for me. He'll not be mocked, I will be free. We will not bend, we will not break. How dare you touch what God gave? We'll never give in, never give up, never back down, never surrender, never surrender. Your fear will not make me behave. I won't march in your masked parade. Your hollow threats won't shut me up. I won't bow down, enough's enough. You say you'll give us what we need, as if you own the air we breathe. Stand up 100 million strong. Thought we'd lie down, well you thought wrong. We will not bend, we will not break. How dare you touch what God gave? We'll never give in, never give up, never back down, never surrender, never surrender. Oh, I walk through the valley of the shadow of death. Just keep going, keep on going. Jesus with me every step. Just keep going, keep on going. Walk through the valley of the shadow of death. Just keep going, keep on going. Jesus closer than my breath. Just keep going, keep on going. We will not bend, we will not break. How dare you touch what God gave? We'll never give in, never give up, never back down. We'll never give in, never give up, never back down. We'll never give in, never give up, never back down, never surrender. I walk through the valley of the shadow of death. Just keep going, keep on going. Jesus with me every step. Just keep going, keep on going. Walk through the valley of the shadow of death. Just keep going, keep on going.